it's me, Kat. Today I want to introduce you to an ancient technique known as the graphite transfer technique. This is an old way of transferring your sketches onto clean paper so that you can finish art on a clean piece of paper, as one does. I'm going to be using this Prismacolor erase for mine. You can use whatever pencil you want. Erasable is even optional if you're going to transfer to digital later. I'm going to do this whole piece in traditional media, so I want an erasable pencil, hence the color erase. Number 2 pencil works just fine. So let's get started. So first of all, I want to show you guys the sketch that I'm going to transfer. It's this drawing of my girl Anya here. This was intended to be the cover art for my book that's coming out in a few months, or it was. Now it's not, but the client did approve it, and I still really like this drawing, so I intend to turn this into a final cover illustration anyway. So there we go. All right, I am going to start out with a printout of my sketch. Then I'm going to flip it over and start scribbling on the back to coat it with the red pencil. This is a bit of a tedious process. Make sure you're moving from your elbow or your shoulder, not waggling your wrist back and forth so you don't hurt yourself like I frequently do. Scribble so that all the parts of the drawing are completely covered. It works best if you have a nice soft pencil. If you have a harder pencil, anything harder than B is probably not going to transfer well. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so speedy up E covering the rest of the paper. And now I'm going to bring in my pre-marked sheet. This is going to be book cover size, which is like 6x9 with some bleed. I've sort of fudged it on the spine width because I don't know exactly how long the spine is going to be. But I'm going to take my scribbled on drawing and I'm going to align it where I want on my final piece of paper so that it's going to be perfectly laid out the way I want it to be. Here I'm messing with it to make sure it's smooth. I've got my blue tape. Blue painter's tape should not tear up your page. If it does, yeah, sometimes it does and that sucks. But ideally it won't. It's a lot gentler than masking tape, way gentler than packing tape or Scotch tape. I suppose you could use poster tacks too, not like sharp pointy tacks, but the sticky stuff, that could work as well. I'm just checking to make sure everything's positioned the way I want it. Now, I'm going to take a nice sharp pencil, very satisfying, and I am going to go over the lines of my sketch. And what this will do is I put pressure on the page. It is going to transfer, I don't know if you can see that, it's pretty faint. That is going to transfer the lines of the sketch onto my final sheet so that I don't have to redraw, because I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this, but when you're redrawing something, it can tend to take a lot of the initial life and energy out of your sketch. So I'm starting off with sort of the basic anatomical forms. I'm going to flip it to make sure it's transferring. Yes, you can kind of faintly see it there. This is also a good opportunity if your sketch has some errors in it that you want to fix in the process of finalizing it. This is a good chance to do that. So this part is pretty basic. We're just outlining everything. I'm going to take the parts of the sketch that I really know I definitely like, the pose and some of the shapes, and the rest of it I'm going to allow myself to revisit in the final stage on the piece of paper. So we'll just speedy up this process now. Okay, you will notice as I'm going through this, I do keep flipping my page to check to make sure that the lines are transferring the way that I want them to. I'm not entirely sure if you can see it very well with my lighting setup, unfortunately, and I do tend to draw pretty light, and this is a light transfer. It's not going to be super dark, but there you can see the outline of the sketch there on the page. Looks pretty good. I'm going to go over here and emphasize a few places that I want to be sure I get those lines perfectly correct. Yeah, there we go. One thing you may notice is I have left out the face. And the reason for that is because when I looked at the sketch, I did notice that I don't think the face, the head, is quite correctly positioned and proportional to the rest of the body. And that's something I definitely do want to fix in the final version. So one of the things that you can do that I didn't do is when you scan or copy your sketch, you can flip it in your program to make sure that everything is proportional. And this is a good practice with all your drawings. If you don't have access to some kind of program or you don't feel like flipping it, you can turn the page upside down, and that difference in perspective will also help point out errors in your composition and in your anatomy. So that's a good practice that I definitely recommend. All right, now that the tracing stage is over, I'm going to remove my sketch layer, and there you can see rather faintly the final drawing outline. So from here, what you will want to do, or maybe you don't want to use this process at all, don't mind me. Using my sketch as reference, I'm going to start refining and outlining and tying down the drawing to get it to where I want it to be before I ink it. And I did video a little bit of that process here, but I will save the rest of it for next time so that y'all can follow along with me this process. Anyway, hope that helps. See ya.